Whether it is something that's up with your wrist, your forearm, your elbow, your shoulder, sometimes you just can't put weight on your arms. So this is a practice for those times that'll focus on hips, legs, core. So you'll start standing. It can be at the center of your mat, it can be at the front of your mat. On an inhale, you'll reach your arms up. Depending on what's going on, they might not come all the way up towards the ceiling. That's fine. As you exhale, begin to fold. You just want to maintain the same relationship between where your arms are and your ears are. So if your arms start alongside your ears, maintain that until you release to the fold. Lower them down. Inhale to find a halfway lift. Try to reach the center of your chest towards the front of your mat a bit. And exhale, fold. Inhale your arms up and lift yourself up to standing. Your butt is doing a lot of that work. And exhale, hands connect in front of your heart. Take your hands to your hips, step your right foot forward and your left foot back. And they don't have to be any particular distance apart. It doesn't have to be a super long stance. The main thing that's important is that you don't want to be standing on a tightrope. So you're not lining your heels up. You're stepping your feet a little bit wider apart. Maybe not quite as wide as this, but at least hip width apart to give yourself a nice stable stance. Feel a little gentle draw in of low belly. And again, one other thing you can do to support your low back is step your back foot in or lift your heel to a lunge. Next, inhale, reach your arms up. Again, they don't have to come all the way up alongside your ears. They might be a little more forward. You can also keep your arms down depending on what's going on with your body, with your shoulders, with your elbows. So you'll breathe with your arms in the shape that makes sense for you. You'll try to feel your right hip swiveling back, your glutes reaching down towards the floor behind you, and you'll breathe. Step your left foot forward. Step your right foot back, set up for your warrior one on the other side. Again, back heel can be lifted, it can be a lunge, or back heel can be down. And don't be afraid to play around with the length of your stance. You might find that as you step that back foot a little closer to your front foot, that it feels better for your back, and that's awesome. Take an inhale, reach your arms up. Again, they might come up alongside your ears. You also might just leave your arms hanging down. You'll breathe. You'll hold that steady stance with your legs. Feel your glutes reaching down. Hands come down to your hips. Step your right foot forward to come to the front of your mat. Again, inhale to reach your arms up, or don't if that's not going to work for your shoulders. Little bend of your knees as you exhale, begin to fold. Maintain that support around your middle. Keep breathing as you fold. You want your butt and your hamstrings supporting you. You can also have your hands on your thighs. Slide yourself down to that fold. As you inhale, lift back up. And hands to your hips, step your left foot back. Back heel spins down to the floor. And again, doesn't matter how long the stance is. Your front knee can be a little bit bent. Can also be fully straightened leg. You're going to swivel your right hip back and your left hip forward. Don't be shy about bending that front knee. You want to watch that your knee isn't dropping inward. That's where the swivel that hip comes in, so that your right knee is pointing directly forward. And with hands on your hips, you'll begin to fold the center of your chest towards the front center of your mat. So think about reaching the center of your chest forward and then down, rather than folding towards your right leg. And you'll breathe. And as you inhale, you'll lift up, or on an inhale, you'll lift up. Step back foot forward, right foot back, and set yourself up. Doesn't matter how far back that leg steps. Left hip swivels back, right hip swivels forward. Knee could be bent a little bit, a lot, or not at all. Hands on your hips, reach the center of your chest towards front center of your mat. You're not reaching forward with your chin. You're not reaching down with your forehead. And you're breathing. You can have your arms in any position that you'd like. That makes sense for your body. On an inhale, you'll lift back up. Step your back foot forward. On an inhale, sweep your arms up. Again, maintain that support around your middle. Probably a little bend in your knees as you fold. Your butt is doing some of that work. Keep your arms in the same position in relation to your ears as you fold, partway towards the floor. Inhale to lift back up. And exhale, arms come down by your sides. You'll bring hands to your hips, step your left foot back. Again, this time your back heel can be lifted to set up for a lunge, or back heel could be down. Feel your right hip swivel back, left hip swivel forward. Arms by your sides, maybe hands on your hips, maybe hands behind your back, maybe arms reaching forward. Maybe you have a hand on a wall to support you. Begin to shift your weight onto your front foot. And maybe you come onto back toe tips, maybe that back foot lifts. Maybe you start to tip forward and you're not just hunching your shoulders forward, you're not spinning your left hip up. You might use the wall for support again. And you're breathing. That's really the most important part, whether toe tips are on the floor or not, you breathe. You don't want to have your torso lower than that back leg, parallel with the floor for both of them at most. Take a moment, shake it out, and step your right foot back. Again, swivel left hip back, right hip forward. Feel that little bit of support around your middle. Again, use the wall as appropriate. Begin to shift your weight forward onto your left foot. Right toe tips could stay on the floor. That left outer hip draws in and you breathe. You hold yourself in a position at a level that makes sense for you, and you keep breathing. This is going to stabilize those outer hips, something fierce. Also core. Step your right foot down. Give yourself a little shake out, a little wiggle around. Place your hands at the backs of your thighs. Begin to slide your hands down your legs as you fold, partway towards the floor. Inhale to lift yourself up. Again, a slow slide up. And then hands to your hips. And step your left foot back. And back heel can spin down. Swivel your right hip back, left hip forward. Feel that support around your middle. Little bend of your right knee. As you begin to fold, hands could rest behind your hips. This time you're going to let your head hang as you fold. Your spine might round a little bit. You might begin to lift your hands away from your hips. Might. Depends on, again, what's going on with your upper body. As you inhale, lift up. And step your back foot forward to come to the front of your mat. Right foot steps back. Again, set yourself up in a way that supports your body, your back. As you inhale, a lift of your chest, that front knee bends. As you exhale, fold. Hands rest or float away from your hips. Let your head hang down towards your back foot and breathe. And you set your arms up in a position that feels like a good spot for you. On an inhale, lift back up. Step your back foot forward to join your front foot. You'll take a moment to stand into both feet to get a feel for what's going on around your middle again. Again, that little bit of support from your abdominals. Then you'll begin to shift your weight onto your right foot. Now, as you do that, you're not just letting your right hip swing over towards the right. You're trying to keep your right hip stacked above your right ankle. And so you might actually do this with a wall behind you to support you. You don't have to. So right hip stays drawing in. As you inhale, bring your left thigh up. And as you exhale, you're going to tip your torso forward, let your left leg sweep back. Again, focus on what's going on at your outer right hip as you do this. Inhale to come forward with that left leg. Again, bring that thigh up. You're trying not to tap your toe down if you can avoid it. Maintain that support around your middle, around your abdominals. Left leg back. You tip your torso forward. Inhale to bring your left leg forward. And exhale, shift your left leg back, torso forward. Inhale, left thigh lifts up. And exhale, place your left foot down as graceful as you can. From there, you'll switch sides. Shake it out a little bit, switch to the other side. So again, left hip's not popping over to the left. You're going to let it draw in. Feel your core, feel your outer hips. And that's where your focus is. Abdominals, outer hips. Bring your right thigh up. And then slowly on an exhale, begin to stretch your right leg back behind you. Maintain that support around your middle and tip forward. Again, it doesn't matter how far forward you go. You want to maintain that support around your middle. Inhale to bring your right thigh forward without tapping your foot down if you can, but it's okay if you do. And exhale, stretch your leg back behind you. Inhale to bring your right thigh forward, and you're paying attention to that outer left hip, really focusing in on that. And exhale, stretch your right leg back. One more time, inhale, bring your right leg forward, and you can place that foot down. Again, do a little shake out, do a little wiggle. So you'll make your way down. You can just kind of settle down onto the floor in whatever way makes sense to you, or you can get a little abdominal work in. So bring your legs towards each other. Start to sink your hips back for chair. Reach your hands forward. So you want to try and squeeze inner thighs, feet towards each other. Sink your hips back. Lower as much as you can, then lift your heels. Bring your butt down to your heels. Then with hands reaching forward, knees a little bit apart, as gracefully as you can, lower your bottom down to the floor. As gracefully as you can. It doesn't have to feel particularly graceful. You'll settle yourself down. You might have to shift back on your mat. You might not. You want to hold around the backs of your thighs or just let your hands rest. You'll start to tip back onto your sits bones. Don't collapse your chest. Let your chest lift. Belly button draws in. You might keep your toe tips down. You might lift your shins parallel to your mat. You might alternately tap your toes towards the floor or alternately lift your legs if your toes are resting on the floor. The most important thing you're doing is breathing. Again, some of that abdominal work, some of that leg work, all that stuff that you might usually do plank for. You can also stretch your legs up alternately as you tap your toes. So you can add levels to this depending on where you're at. But you want to make sure you don't let your chest collapse down, your shoulders hunch forward. Steady with the breath as much as or as little as you're moving. And then release your legs down. Hands come to rest on your knees or thighs. Let your chest reach forward. So you're taking a little cat-cow shape here. Normally this would be on hands and knees. You can do it seated. Inhale to arch your back and exhale to round. Move with your breath. And if you want to do some other kind of free form movement here, feel free to do that. This is supposed to help you create some space in your body and get a little movement even though you can't bear weight on your hands. So do what makes sense for you right here in terms of movement, as long as you're moving with your breath. Once you're done a few rounds of cat-cow, you'll settle yourself onto your sits bones again. Tip back. Maybe you stretch your legs up. Maybe you keep your knees bent. Maybe your toe tips stay on the floor. You're going to inhale to lower back. And you'll slowly lower yourself all the way down. Try to continue breathing as you do. You can take as much time. You could do a 10 count, 5 count. You could just be like, fuck it, I'm done, and lower down. You're going to shift your upper body, your torso, towards the left. Shift your legs towards the left and cross perhaps your right ankle on top of your left ankle. You could keep your hands by your sides or grab hold of opposite elbows over your head. You're basically making your body into the shape of a banana on the floor. Get a little side stretch for the right side of your body. Head can face whatever direction makes sense for your neck. And you breathe. Are you catching that breathing is kind of important? You might try to feel your breath in the right side of your rib cage here. You might try to feel your jaw and your neck. Find a little more ease. And as you're finishing up that last exhale, you'll switch to the other side. So again, wiggle your torso a little bit, your shoulders, your head. Then wiggle your legs across so your back, your torso, the back of your torso stays on the floor. You might cross left ankle on top of right ankle. You might take your arms alongside your ears, but you might not. And hold on to opposite elbows. Again, it depends on what's going on with your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, what's going on in your arms. I'll just take a moment of side bend to that side. And if you are someone who's tighter on that side, most derby folks aren't, but if you are, you can switch the length of time you stay on each side. Soles of feet come together, knees come wide, let your hips rock. Arms are rested by your sides. You could also rock your head if that feels good for you. You'll lift your legs up then, scoop them up, cross right ankle on top of left thigh, and begin to rock your legs and your hips from side to side. Those rocks can be as big or as small as makes sense for your body. So we worked in parallel with the legs a lot. You want to get a little opening for the hips. Your feet do not have to come anywhere near the floor like mine are. It might be very tiny movements, or maybe you just hang out and breathe. Your head could rock along with your legs. Just want to try and find a steady flow that works with your breath. Then right foot comes to the floor, left ankle on top of your right thigh. And again, a little rock from side to side. Those movements can be as big or as small as makes sense for your body. Head can rock along with your hips. Just allow your arms and your shoulders to rest. And we're trying not to have the upper body involved in this. Sometimes it's good to do that. Sometimes it's good to change it up. Steady with the breath. Steady the movement with the breath. And as you're feeling relatively even with the other side, and you might stay a little longer on your left side, you might have stayed a little longer on the right. We'll bring both knees in towards your chest. Just let your hips rock. And again, you're not grabbing onto your legs. You're just holding, letting your hips rock from side to side. Maybe you circle your legs in the air. Circle the back of your pelvis on the floor. If you're circling, circle in one direction. Follow it up with the opposite direction. And you'll place your feet down. Stretch your legs out towards the front of your mat. Feet rest apart from each other, and arms rest still away from the sides of your body. Or perhaps you reach them alongside your ears or somewhere in between. And take a few moments to rest here, both body and mind. And you can stay for as long as you like. As you're ready, you'll roll yourself over onto one side and make your way up to a comfortable seat. Thanks for tuning in to this Flat Mat Yoga YouTube video. For more Yoga for Roller Derby resources, you can find Flat Mat on social media or head on over to flatmatyoga.com for the blog and the podcast.